Okay, so hi everyone. So today I'm gonna be giving you guys like information and my research that I found out about witchcraft and voodoo. My topic question was, what is the difference between witchcraft and voodoo? I chose to research these two religions because I thought they were very interesting to learn about, and I also thought that they share a lot of similarities, so I wanted to know what's the main difference between them. So to begin, I wanted to give some insights of what I found out when I was doing my research. I thought these were really important to know, so I'm just gonna read it. Witchcraft and voodoo share a lot of similarities, so the topic question comes into play, so we can distinguish the main differences of both of the belief systems. While I was doing research from both of these religions, I noticed they serve a common purpose, and that is protection. When I was reading about the religions of witchcraft and voodoo, uh, it was basically telling me that they, all the rituals and practices that they do, is just mainly to protect them and who they care about. So yeah, I noticed that these religions were really looked down upon because they were believed to be worshiping the devil and relating to black magic and dark practices. There are many observations that can prove this point, but when I was doing my research, I realized that it goes way more deeper than just that. So here's a little backstory of witchcraft. It's also known as Wicca. It originated in northern and eastern Europe, which eventually spread across the globe. So now it's mostly, if you are talking about the U.S., it's in the New Orleans. Um, it's based off of pre-Christian tradition, and it branched off from there. So I provided a quote from one of my sources. It says, Wicca can be traced to a retired British civil servant. His name was Gerald Browsue Gardner. He spent most of his career in Asia, where he became familiar with a variety of occult beliefs and magical practices. So when it came to witchcraft, Gerald was the furthest they went back to figure out where it originated from. He ended up starting a cult, and he spread his findings and his teachings to other people, and they also practiced a lot of magic. So, to continue with the backstory of the witchcraft, I included another quote that I thought was really important. It basically describes the purpose of why they do witchcraft and for their religion and all that. So it states they believe in goddess, they respect nature, and hold both polytheistic and pantheistic views. Most Wiccans accept the so called Wiccan Rede, which is an ethical code that states, if it harm none, do what you will. Wiccans believe in meditation and participate in rituals throughout the year. Quick backstory on Voodoo. It's also known as Voodoo. It originated in West Africa. Slaves combined the traditions from Africa with Roman Catholicism and created Voodoo. So when I was doing research, I included this quote that I thought was very important to know. It states, Voodoo refers to a whole assortment of cultural elements, personal creeds, and practices, including an elaborate system of folk medical practices, a system in ethics transmitted across generations, including proverbs, stories, songs, and folklore. Voodoo is more than a belief, it's a way of life. I included this quote because it basically explains what the purpose of voodoo is, why they practice it, and some things that they also do. They do perform sacrifices and rituals, which is commonly known that they do that to serve their greater God, which is part of their religion. People know what they're putting themselves through, and it's not like they're killing random people. Adding on to the backstory of voodoo, when we think of voodoo, we think of black magic, voodoo dolls, and bringing corpse back to life. Although this religion is one of the most misunderstood because over time it became so demonized, but in reality, most that practice voodoo don't even use it in a way of harm, but more as a protection from evil and the greater good. So, to answer how witchcraft and voodoo are different, after doing all my research and doing a paper about it and everything, I figured out that witchcraft is a neo-pagan religion started by Gerald Gardner, which was the guy that started the cult and did the research on it in Asia. It's more based on nature and natural healing, whereas voodoo is more sacred and does rituals more for the dead and sacrifices for their god. Right, so my final thoughts. When I started this project, I chose witchcraft and voodoo because I thought that was going to be like the most interesting, and like I already knew so much about it because of like the shows I watched and movies. But after doing a lot of like my observations and research, I realized that voodoo and witchcraft is nothing like the movies. It's nothing like your shows that you watch. There's a lot more behind these religions, and like I said earlier, they're really misunderstood. They're a lot more sacred and more, it's very uncommon now. So the most that you really will hear about witchcraft or voodoo being practiced in the US is common in like New Orleans. But other than that, like it's so stereotyped and like looked down upon that people still don't find it normal. They're like afraid of it. But I think like when I learned my research, I thought it was really like cool and like not as scary as people were making it seem. And frankly, I really think that they should normalize having that as common as it used to be back in the day. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.